Harihi Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryan Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Can you hear me on Zoom?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Yes, Prabhuji, I can hear you. Yes,
Okay,
Prabhuji.
thank you. Very nice. So we're going to start with Nectar of Devotion studies. So everybody read the Nectar of Devotion, at least the first 19 chapters, I hope. No?
I did earlier, Prabhuji. I did earlier in Bengali version. Now I will be in.
All right. So please make sure for the next time you read at least what we have to study the next time. So we'll give you some homework at the end of this lecture. So please make sure that before we study the material, you read the material ahead. This will be better for you and better for everybody. Hare Krishna. Even if you read the book before, please read it again, because maybe you read it like 5-6 years ago and you don't remember so much of it. So first we'll start with the preface. Usually, from what I have seen, the Nectar of Devotion study guide seminars, they start from the introduction. But this time we'll start preface. How do we do it do you remember?
Generally, we are mentioning something.
Mentioning something, okay. So in the preface, Srila Prabhupada makes 4 main points. We're going to go through them. The first one, anyone who knows the science of Krishna and is engaged in the service of the Lord is accepted as a topmost human being. This is important because, as we know, now we take it for granted that everybody can become a devotee, but it is not always. It was not always like that. And Srila Prabhupada mentions in different places, also in the Nectar of Devotion, he mentions about the great struggle that was undertaken by his Guru Maharaj and other devotees, of course, over the years, but especially by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, in order to establish that everybody, all human beings, have the right to perform devotional service. Because at that time in Bengal, there were these people who claimed that only if you're born in a certain family, or only if you're Brahmana, can you engage in devotional service. So we know from the Chaitanya Charitamrita and from other places, it is stated that, the famous verse, Kiva Nyasi Shudra Kenehai, we know this, that everybody can be not just a devotee, everybody can actually be a guru even, if he knows the science of Krishna. So anyone who knows the science of Krishna and is engaged in the service of the Lord is accepted as topmost human being, even if he or she is born in a lower family. Doesn't matter. Everybody is qualified to become a devotee. If he will later on we'll learn what is the qualification. The qualification is desire and faith, Shraddha. All right, so there's the first point. The second, the present Krishna consciousness movement is based on the authority of Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who is direct disciple of Lord Chaitanya. So we know that Srila Prabhupada always likes to emphasize that we are authoritative movement. So, and everything we say is even every way we behave is supposed to be also based on Shastra. So how do we claim our authority? How this movement is authoritative? In a very simple way, because it is based on the teachings of the direct disciple of the Lord. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, and the 6 Goswamis are direct disciples, and we follow in the footsteps of, especially of Rupa Goswami. And therefore we are called how? Rupa Nuga, followers of Rupa Goswami. Somebody may say, why Rupa Goswami? Why not? Well, we read a little later. Rupa Goswami himself dedicates this book to his guru, his older brothers, Sanatana Goswami. So why we are not Sanatana Nugas? Why Rupa Nugas?
Probably because he understood his mood, Chaitanya's mood.
Very nice.
He was personally trained by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Okay.
And he gave instructions also too.
Mm-hmm. Because Prabhuji says, did you hear? Prabhuji says, because he was personally trained by Mahaprabhu and he understood his mood. Very nice. Yes, that's definitely there. So, and also because, as we know, our philosophy as Mahaprabhu presented it, it's not just Mahaprabhu, all the acharyas that present the philosophy in terms of Sambandha Vidaya Prayojana. And amongst these 3, the emphasis is on Abhidaya, on the process, because by performing Abhidaya, so everybody is familiar with these terms, Sambandha Abhidaya Prayojana? Does this make any sense to you, or you have to explain? Because I'm taking for granted that you know these things. Okay, yeah. Sambandha is, Mahaprabhu says that these are the 3 great riches of the Vedic literature, and that the Vedas teach only 3 things in a numberable variety of, from a number of perspectives and aspects. But these only 3 things, and these are Sambandha, which means who is God, who are we, and what is the material world, and what is the connection between these 3. So, Chitta Chittishvara in the language of the Upanishads. Chit is the soul, Chit is the matter, and Ishvara is God. So this is Sambandha Gyan. Another way to describe it, it's a relationship or the field of activity. What is the field of activity? And then once this is established, then naturally we want to operate the field. When you see something, either you have an interest on it or no. If you have an interest, then you want to know how to operate the field because you want to get something out of it. Like you go to the kitchen, if you're interested in it, you want to know if you're hungry and you want to cook, then you want to know how to cook what has to be done. So this is the process, okay? How to operate the field. This is called Abhidaya. And why do you do anything? Because you want the result. And the result is called Prayojana, the ultimate necessity, as Prabhupada describes it sometimes. It is not just a whimsical idea about something. Oh, I think I want to buy this, or I want to be whatever. No, Prayojana is the real, the need of the soul, which is love of God. So we have the field, then you have the goal, Prayojana, and you have the method for attaining the goal, which is Abhidaya. So therefore, because we are trying to perform devotional service, and Rupa Goswami is the Acharya of the Abhidaya Tattva, and also he's the Rasa Acharya. These are some reasons why he's so important for us. Okay, and there is this song, Rupa Goswami, no, Rupa Goswami, Shri Rupa Manjari, you know this song? There, it is described that all the endeavors, all tapasya, say dana, say tapasya, mora mantra japa, all meditation and chanting of japa, they are all meant to please Rupa Manjari and Rupa Goswami. All right, so Abhidaya Tattva. Another important thing about Abhidaya, the process, is that it combines this is called chit, the chit potency of the Lord. That means knowledge and activity. That means the knowledge has to be applied practically in life. It's not just theoretical knowledge. Okay, so the third.
Also,
yeah,
in connection with this, there is a little bit like a biography of the life of Rupa Goswami.
Yeah,
that's the third one.
I'm gonna mention this. Yes,
Okay.
but you can read something. Actually, you read something.
So basically, Srila Prabhupada is giving a little bit summary. What is the life of the Virakas and Sakarmalika? Maybe someone can read.
He was the chief of 6 Goswamis, who were the direct disciples of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When he first met Lord Chaitanya, Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada was engaged as a minister in the Mohammedan government of Bengal. He and his brother Sanatan were then named Dabir Khas and Sakar Malik, respectively. And they held responsible posts as minister of Nawab Hussain Shah. At that time, 500 years ago, the Hindu society was very rigid. And if a member of the Brahmana caste accepted the service of Mohammedan ruler, he was at once rejected from Brahman society. That was the position of the two brothers, Dabir Khas and Sakar Malik. They belonged to the highly situated Saraswat Brahman community. But they were ostracized due to their acceptance of ministerial posts in the government of Hussain Shah. It is the grace of Lord Chaitanya that he accepted these exalted personalities as his disciples and raised them to the position of Goswami, the highest position of Brahminical culture. Similarly, Lord Chaitanya accepted Haridas Thakur as his disciple, although Haridas happened to be born of a Mohammedan family. And Lord Chaitanya later on made him the Acharya of the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Okay, thank you. We'll maybe read a little bit later also on this topic. So the third point Prabhupada makes in the preface is concerning rasa. Rasa is the attractive feature of any activity which motivates the performer. This is very important. We don't do anything unless we are motivated by some kind of pleasure that we'll get. Of course, you can for a certain amount of time do something just based on duty, but it won't last. This is the human nature, human psychology. We need some satisfaction. So Bhakti Rasa, the book that we're going to study is called Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is presented as Nectar of Devotion by Srila Prabhupada. Bhakti Rasa awards complete and eternal happiness, whereas the material rasa brings only frustration in the dualities of Bhoga Tyaga. There's this famous song of Govinda Das, Bhajaho Reimana Shrinandanandana. There he says, Sita Atapa Bhata Barishana Edina Jamini Jagire, Bibhale Sevinu Kripana Durajana, Chapala Sukha Laba Lagire. I have served Sevinu, Bipala, uselessly. I have served Kripana Durajana. Kripana means the opposite of Brahmana, which is miser. So miser, Kripana, and Durajana means bad person, basically. Durajana. Wicked man. Why? To attain some chapala, which means flickering, sukha, so-called happiness. Because there is no bhakti rasa, there is no spiritual rasa, there is just the material rasa. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that there are three different ways of, three different rasas. One is the rasa that is attained by contacting the senses with the sense objects. It's very temporary. And then the other one is called jala rasa, and the other one is called forgot the name. This is the rasa attained basically by following varnashrama properly. It's the rasa of proper human relationships, which is higher because it lasts for a longer time. But even then, it has to end at one point. And the best is, the highest is Vaikuntha rasa from the spiritual world. So, Boga Tyaga, the material rasa brings only frustration in the dualities of Boga and Tyaga. And Srila Prabhupada explains that that means that this is not temporary. The opposite is it cannot be. It's not sustainable. It's not permanent, right? In neither of these positions, as enjoyer, so-called, and renouncer, the enjoyment, also so-called, neither of these positions is permanent, and the soul cannot establish himself there for a long time. And we know this by our Hare Krishna. We know this by our therefore that's why you disappeared from the screen, because you appeared in person. Therefore, we have this experience that we, in the material world, we try to enjoy. First of all, it's very difficult to get what you want. And even if you get it, then once you start to enjoy that, quite quickly, this enjoyment goes down. And then the very item that brought you enjoyment becomes a source of misery. Just like Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita. Dukkha yunaya evate. Adhyantavanta. Yeah, he sounds partial Java. Dukkha yunaya. Adhyantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate Buddha. And then we try to, we become spiritual, so-called, and we try to renounce. Oh, now people say, I'm looking more in a more philosophical way. You know, that means you're just frustrated. You couldn't enjoy because that's not your position. You're not the enjoyer, or you didn't have enough piety to even to secure the enjoyment, let alone trying to actually maintain it. And then we try to renounce this enjoyment, become tyagi, but this is also not possible. Even those they are forced to come back to the material world. All right, so this is the third point Srila Prabhupada makes in the preface. And then the fourth one, the last one. Our love can be fully satisfied only when it is reposed in Krishna. The Nectar of Devotion teaches us how to stimulate our original love for Krishna and how to be situated in that position where we can enjoy our blissful life. So our love can be fully satisfied only when Krishna is the object. Why? Because Krishna is of course he's proprietor, but he's as we will learn a little later, he's Akhila Rasamrita Murti. He's the reservoir of the origin of rasas. All living entities, we try to draw rasa from Krishna. Therefore, we are in different rasas. Yeah. Mother Yashoda, she is in parental rasa. The gopis, they're in Madhura rasa, and the friends of Krishna are in Sakya rasa. But Krishna is rasa personified. Everybody's drawing, depending on him. Rasuvai Saha. And he is capable of reciprocating in perfect way with all different living entities, which we are not capable of doing. That's just the way it is. So that means if we don't approach Krishna in order to satisfy this need of relationship and love and intimacy, then we'll be disappointed. We will be disappointed, and we will disappoint the other party, inevitable. If Krishna is in the center of this relationship, of course, then if Krishna is included, not just included, but if he is actually in the center, then it will be like the description of in 5th canto about Maharaja Priyavrata and his wife. They had a wonderful relationship because they were devotees. Still, Priyavrata Maharaj left. He took Vanaprastha, even though everything was fine, fabulous. Okay, and then the Nectar of Devotion teaches us how to stimulate our original love for Krishna, which is already there, how to awaken it. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada calls Nectar of Devotion the Komikana Bhakti, the law book of Bhakti. And to be situated in that position where we can enjoy our blissful life. Okay, there's the preface. You have something to add? Or somebody, if you want to ask something, you can ask whenever you feel, because the Vedic education, one of the principles is that the question should be entertained when it appears, because then there is interest, and if you wait 10 minutes, 15 minutes, then the mind is so flickering, unstable, that the interest might not be there, and then you don't ask the question, you don't get the knowledge. That's how it goes. Hare Krishna.
Maybe,
yes. You want to say something?
maybe you can repeat these 4.
Yeah.
And then we can read a little bit about the Bhakti Rasa.
Yes.
and
Okay.
discuss a little bit.
Okay, so I'll repeat the 4 main points that are made by Srila Prabhupada in the preface. First, anyone who knows the science of Krishna and is engaged in the service of the Lord is accepted as a topmost human being. Anyone, no matter in what type of family he is born. Second, the present Krishna conscious movement is based on the authority of Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, direct disciple of Lord Chaitanya. So this is how we establish the authoritativeness of the movement. Third, rasa is the attractive feature of any activity which motivates the performer. Bhakti rasa awards complete and eternal happiness, whereas the material rasa brings only frustration in the dualities of bhoga and tyaga. And fourth, our love can be fully satisfied only when it is reposed in Krishna, and the Nectar of Devotion teaches us how to stimulate our original love for Krishna. Okay?
Okay, so let's see who can repeat at least one of those 4.
At least one.
Who wanna try?
Rupa Goswami is the authoritative representative of Krishna consciousness movement because he was initiated by so.
And that means, okay, that's very nice. And that means that, because actually the point is a little different from, but it's very good, very good. But that means that our movement is bona fide, because this is our acharya. We are Rupanugas.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
He's Avidya Acharya. No, Prayojan.
No, Prayojan Acharya is Raghunath Das.
Oh, sorry, Avidya Acharya.
He's Avidya Acharya. Therefore, he's the most.
Because this is the process.
This is the process to get Prayojan.
Okay, who repeat other principle? She's listening always carefully.
There's something connected to the rasa.
What is that? If you compare it with the material rasa, what's the difference?
I mean, it's eternal versus temporary.
Versus
Here. And that the rasa here is
Frustration.
frustration.
Correct? Yes. That's the second point. Third,
And just to add that rasa is the important feature of any activity. We cannot do anything without either material or spiritual rasa. We need this in order to function.
Mm.
Otherwise, we become Mayavadis, Buddhists. Even they try to get some rasa by negating their personality. Okay, 2 until now. 2 more we need.
2 out of 4. That's but
Science of Krishna.
Science of Krishna.
The science of Krishna.
Yes. Then
They can be gurus also.
yes.
And,
Topmost human being.
topmost human being. Perfect.
Yeah, guru.
Whoever knows the science of Krishna consciousness can be.
And that means anyone. Doesn't require like to be born in a specific family.
Which
Everybody.
study from Upadeshamrita. Like,
why this point is made here? Why? What's the reason for this point to be made here?
it's Bhakti Rasa.
No, the Srila Prabhupada is making very specific points.
Because at that time Hindu society was very rigid.
Yeah.
And they are from Muslim, they were serving Muslim
Correct.
community.
But this was not making them disqualified. That was the
That
point.
was
It's not about from what kind of family you're coming. It's about, do you know about Krishna?
Krishna.
Do you practice on the basis of your knowledge? If you do that, you are accept it, you're qualified. So that's why this is
And then he
important.
gives the example of Haridas Thakur. Lovely.
And then the fourth point, which is like the conclusion of the whole preface, that our propensity to love can be only satisfied if
By Krishna, serving Krishna. That's why it's called Akhila Asamurti.
good. Okay.
And Krishna will never disappoint us.
To remind.
No problem. We are ready to help. Okay, I would like to read a little bit from the preface. So basically, at some point in the preface, Srila Prabhupada is breaking down the title of the book and explaining the title of the book. Why the book is called Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. If we go a little bit more in depth, we will see this. So let's just read a little bit. So first, Srila Prabhupada starts discussing Bhakti. This is on the page XIII in my book. I don't know how it's down. Bhakti means devotional service. Every service has some attractive feature which drives the servitor progressively on and on. Every one of us within this world is perpetually engaged in some sort of service, and the impetus for such service is the pleasure we derive from it. This is what Anna explained. If we know that we won't get anything from certain activity, we won't be enthusiastic to do it. Either we have to get some taste, or at least something tangible, yes, money or recognition, something. Otherwise, we won't do it. Driven by affection for his wife and children, a family man works day and night. A philanthropist works in the same way for love of the greater family, and a nationalist for the cause of his country and countrymen. That force which drives the philanthropist, the householder, and the nationalist is called rasa, or a kind of mellow relationship whose taste is very sweet. So now Srila Prabhupada discussed Bhakti and Rasa. He explained these two words. Bhakti Rasa is a mellow different from the ordinary Rasa enjoyed by mundane workers. Mundane workers labor very hard day and night in order to relish a certain kind of Rasa, which is understood as sense gratification. So now Bhakti Rasa is something totally different from what we know in our life. It's not sense gratification, it's something else. The relish or taste of the mundane rasa does not long endure, and therefore mundane workers are always apt to change their position of enjoyment. A businessman is not satisfied by working the whole week. Therefore, wanting a change for the weekend, he goes to a place where he tries to forget his business activities. Then after the weekend is spent in forgetfulness, he again changes his position and resumes his actual business activities. Is it?
100% true.
It's true, yes. Some people, they speak from realization.
Yeah, that's why Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, correct.
Happy hours. Only happy hours. You know, first time I didn't understand what is for happy hours, like 5 years before when I started with this type of job or something. Every Friday they said, hey, you're not doing happy hours. One day I went. I saw for me, only ginger ale. I said, oh, that's okay.
So material engagement means accepting a particular status for some time and then changing it. This position of changing back and forth is technically known as bogatyaga, which means a position of alternating sense enjoyment and renunciation. A living entity cannot steadily remain either in sense enjoyment or in renunciation. Change is going on perpetually, and we cannot be happy in either state because of our eternal constitutional position. Sense gratification does not endure for long, and it is therefore called chapalasukha, or flickering happiness. So, material rasa means what Srila Prabhupada said? Chapalasukha.
Flickering.
Yes, it's and Govardhana.
and
You try to enjoy,
and
then you enjoy, but actually it's not so satisfying. So, oh, let me renounce it. But then after short renunciation, you say, no, I have to enjoy again. And you go again. This is material rasa. Because it's not the real thing, you try, but actually there is no taste. So you say, oh, it's not doing the job. And then after some time, no, let me try again, because there is no any alternative. There is nothing else. So this is material rasa. Two things. Remember them because you may have them on your exam. For example, ordinary man who works very hard day and night and is successful in giving comforts to the members of his
Invert password. My
Krishna so
Only
small.
all small letters.
yes.
Krishna Mandal 08.
The devotee realizes the presence of God by devotion or service, whereas the